Welcome to Lifeguard.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Lifeguard Kids. I am Harry, and I'm going to tell you today's word of the day. Today's word of the day is war. War is a state of armed conflict between different nations or states, or different groups within a nation or state. It's not a good thing, and there's a lot of fighting, and it's bad. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Little Bunny, and I'm going to teach you today's buddy check. Today's buddy check is war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. When you hear that whistle, stand up and say the buddy check. No buddy out.
War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Hi, I'm Taco Girl, and I'm going to teach you the memory verse. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Matthew 5:9. Don't forget, talk about it with your friends.
Today we're going to be talking about glass and how glass is made. So there are two different types. There's probably more types, but two main types we're going to talk about, and that is going to be like flame blowing and glass blowing. So both types are going to use heat to melt down this glass and to make it into a shapeable material to make different types of creations. This is what you put in a creation piece. Okay. And they have to get really hot. So if it gets really hot, it's gonna have to cool down, obviously, so you can put it on your shelves or desk or anywhere you want to put it, or use it for food. And the way they do that is they put it in this thing. I don't really know what it's called. It slowly brings down the temperature of your glass, whatever that you're making. And the reason why you have to do that is if you don't do that, your glass is going to not, parts of it are going to cool down faster than others if they're thinner, and the thicker pieces aren't. So it's going to have tension spots to where it can break really easily. And just like in real life, we can have our own tension spots with people, things, whatever in life. Maybe you have tension with a friend, maybe you don't see eye to eye. The best way to deal with that is to cool down slowly and to work through it together so you don't break your relationship. And the best way to do that is with God. God can help you to cool down and see what you need to see, and so you can both work it out so you don't break your relationship.
All right, so let's get into the word today. We are going to be reading from 2 Samuel chapter 2. That may seem like we're doing a little bit of jumping, but this is where we were in our lessons. And we were talking about war. And we were at, like I said, 2 Samuel chapter 2, and we're at verse 8, actually. So we're talking about war today, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of read this, and hopefully we will follow along and we can kind of work together. So this says, by the way, I'm reading the NIV. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. He made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, and Jezreel, and also over Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. Now, what's important here that you may not know, in our past lessons we have learned the extensive time that David has taken, that he was not king, and how Saul went after him and was upset with him. But when Saul died, David was anointed to become king. And in this time period, after Saul died, David was actually crowned king over Israel, which we're going to talk about in just a second as I read this. But I want you to understand, Abner is the son of Ner, who was and Ner was the commander of Saul's army. So he has gone and grabbed somebody and said, "You're going to be the king of Israel," even though David is now the king of Judah. So the two tribes that are split now have two different kings, which has kind of been a common theme throughout many other years. But David is the true king of Israel, but right now he is not. He's just the king of Judah. And so Abner put somebody else in charge. So Ishbosheth, son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel. And and he reigned 2 years. The tribe of Judah, remember I mentioned that earlier, however, remained loyal to David. So we know David is the king of Judah, and they remain loyal to him. The length of time David was king in Hebron over Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So you can see, it took him a very long time to become king, but even when he became king, he wasn't given the full kingdom. He didn't have all of it. He didn't have all the people. He didn't have all the people under him or whatever, but this wasn't something that necessarily worried David. David trusted in God. But let's see what's going to happen here. Abner, son of Ner, together with the men of Ishbosheth, son of Saul, left Mahanaim and went to Gibeon. Joab, son of Zeruiah, and David's men went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool, and one group on the other side. So each of these groups, the people from Israel, the people from Judah, they came together and they sat down on each side, all right? So they stood up and they were counted off, 12 men for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 for David. Very important number, 12 throughout the Bible, brought up over and over and over again. So you got 12 men on each side, one for Israel, as I said, one for Judah. Then each man grabbed his opponent by the head and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side, and they fell down together. And so that place in Gibeon was called Helkath Hazzurim. Did that do any good? I don't know. I don't know if that did any good. That's kind of it was a battle that didn't really do anything, but what this says in verse 17, the battle that day was very fierce. And Abner and the Israelites were defeated by David's men. So they fought, and it was almost seems like it was a very quick fight. Did it really do anything? We're going to see. The 3 sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Ashiel. Now Ashiel was as fleet-footed, that means he's fast, okay, as a wild gazelle. I don't know how fast a wild gazelle is, but they're telling us he's fast, okay? And he chased Abner, turning neither to the right nor to the left as he pursued him. And Abner looked behind him and asked, "Is that you, Ashiel?" "It is," he answered. And then Abner said to him, "Turn aside to the right or to the left. Take on one of the young men and strip him of his weapons." But Ashiel would not stop chasing him. Again, Abner warned Ashiel, "Stop chasing me. Why should I strike you down? How could I look to your brother Joab in the face?" So Abner did not want to fight Ashiel. In a way, he had some honor here. And so he's trying to tell him, "Hey, don't chase me. Go get somebody else. I don't want to have to take you down and then face your brother with that." But Ashiel refused to give up the pursuit, so Abner thrust the butt of his spear. So that means if he was holding the spear, he's hit him with not the pointy end, but the stick end at the other side. All right. Oh, where is it? I lost my spot. The butt of his spear to Ashiel's stomach, but the spear came out through his back. So even though he didn't hit him with the pointy end, it still went through him. He fell there and died on the spot, and every man stopped when he came to the place where Ashiel had fallen and died. So he didn't even mean to really kill him. He was trying to get him off him or back away from him. But anyway, but Joab and Abishai pursued Abner, and as the sun was setting, they came to the hill of Ammoni, near Giah, on the way to the wasteland of Gibeon. Then the men of Benjamin rallied behind Abner. They formed themselves into a group and took their stand on top of a hill. So these are the men of Israel, where Abner had put this king in charge, and they are standing up against the men of David. Abner called out to Joab. Now Joab, if you remember, is the brother of the person that Abner just killed. "Must the sword devour forever? Don't you realize that this will end in bitterness? How long before you order your men to stop pursuing their fellow Israelites?" It's interesting because we're seeing Abner has, again, a heart that does not want to fight. He doesn't want the war. He doesn't want to hurt other people. It looks like he would rather prefer to come together and work together and try to not have to fight and hurt each other. And Joab answered, "As surely as God lives, if you had not spoken, the men would have continued pursuing them until morning." So what is Joab saying here? Joab is saying, you spoke and you said, "I don't want to fight," and I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you say that, and that means we're going to do something different here. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the troops came to a halt. That means they stopped. And they no longer pursued Israel, nor did they fight anymore. So because Abner spoke up and said, I don't want to fight, and Joab listened to him, the fight comes to a pause. All that night, Abner and his men marched through the Arba, and they crossed the Jordan, continued through the morning hours, and came to Mahanaim. Then Joab stopped pursuing Abner and assembled the whole army. Besides Asahel, 19 of David's men were found missing. But David's men had killed 360 Benjamites who were with Abner. They took Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb at Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men marched all night and arrived at Hebron at daybreak. So interestingly, this battle, this war, it could have been way worse. But Abner stepped in and said, I don't want to fight. And let me just finish this off. I'm going to do chapter 3, verse 1 through 5. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. And really, this had to happen. Saul was the past and needed to move on. God had granted David the kingdom, so this was going to happen. But the people could choose to do things in a better way, in a calmer way, and work through things. Sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon, the son of Ahinoam of Jezreel. His second, Eliab, the son of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. The third, Absalom, the son of Malik, daughter of Talmai, king of Jeshur. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. The fifth, Zephaniah, the son of Abital, and the sixth, Ithram, the son of David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. So we're going to see how this is going to move forward later. But what I really wanted to kind of showcase in our lesson here, there's this war because the leaders are transferring from one person to another, and that causes a lot of strife. A lot of people get upset because they say, I am for this person, but then somebody else says, I am for this person. And you end up fighting and clashing. And what's crazy is they're all Israelites. They're all the same people. And they could come together and try to work something out. And Abner tries, which is interesting because Abner was the commander of Saul's army. And we understand Saul was a crooked man that did a lot of things bad. But David always stood by Saul because God put him in charge. And that's important to be able to understand how to create peace when there's war. And we have to understand that we have to step back from ourselves, from what we want, from the things that we think need to happen. And instead of focusing on those things, we have to begin to focus on what God wants and how God wants us to act. And doing that is a very hard thing to do unless we put ourselves to the side. And as Abner said, we need to not fight each other. And that's very, very hard to do. And it's just something that we need to do better as people and as Christians, because we're all on the same team. We all are here for God, for Christ. And if we're fighting against each other on even little things, it doesn't do much good that it needs to do. So we need to come together, we need to find love, we need to find compassion, and we need to work together instead of being at war.
Question number 1. What was today's word? The word was war. Question number 2. What is war? War is battle fought between people. Question number 3. Our relationships and our witness for Christ can be as fragile as what? The answer is glass. Question number 4. What is today's buddy check? The answer is war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Question number 5. Who put another person as king? The answer is Abner. Question number 6. Who stayed true to King David? The answer is tribe of Judah. Question number 7. How many men fought at the pool of Gibeon? The answer is 24. Question number 8. Which man's armies won these battles? The answer is David. Question number 9. Where was today's memory verse found? The answer is Matthew 5:9.